Yeah, but this is where people give up all the time. You know, even in sales, this is where they give up because like something stops, there's a little road bump, and then they're like, oh, I can't do that. There was so many times I could have said I couldn't do that. Like I didn't have the money, I was borrowing money, I was coming down, there's no place to live, I didn't speak the language, and I come down and
Okay, welcome. So we're at School of the 1%, the podcast where we interview the top 1% in every single field. I'm here with my dear friend Steve Spray. This guy's been a mentor to me, an educator, a trainer, just an overall, like a brother, okay? So I left corporate world when I was 26 years old, thought I was a superstar salesperson. You know, I was the elite in the T-ball league. Flew down here to Miami and met the Grant Cardone sales team and met the major league players, and it friggin' humbled me and put me in check. I realized that I was not the superhero that I thought I was. So this is School of the 1%. We interview the top 1%. This is Steve Spray. He is the top 1%. He is the top in sales and in business. He is beyond the top 1%. So thanks for being here.
Thanks, man.
Okay.
Awesome to be here.
And you guys got some of the preliminaries. So what we're going to talk about, you're watching this show, is we're going to talk about Steve's rise to success, the work he's put in. We're going to talk about the furniture store.
Yep.
Okay, I did the warehouse, which you guys are going to see the videos from. I lived in the warehouse for 8 months. Steve's going to talk about the furniture store.
Yeah.
Do you have any pictures or photos of that?
I don't.
You got to go back.
I do, yeah.
We went back. I took Dan with me. We went back.
Oh yeah. You guys. So where you guys went and had dinner, you were by the area.
Really?
Where I used to live, yeah, on South Beach.
Okay. So we're gonna talk about that. So anyway, welcome, Steve.
Hey, thanks.
All right, so we're gonna kick it off. So tell us a little bit about what you do in your current role.
I work with Grant Cardone, sales and marketing manager there, and work with companies for primarily sales training. Our company works many different angles. We help companies with marketing. We help them with scaling companies. I actually work with just pure sales training. So they got a sales team. We go in. We'll sell them a product that actually helps their people become better in sales.
Okay. And I'll talk to you about how hard that is in a minute, because we'll talk about the merits of sales training, and if you aren't good in sales or you mess up any part of your sales process, they assume it's about the product.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. So Steve Spray, sales and marketing manager for Grant Cardone, and how long have you been with Grant?
I'm coming up right on 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, this sales job so I bought the Cardone franchise, as you guys know, and this sales job chews up and spits out salespeople. So if you've been there 8 years, I've seen really, really strong players come and go. I've seen fast talkers, persuasive guys come in, but they don't have the ethics piece or they don't have the stability piece. They blow out.
Yeah.
And then I've seen the other guys who come in and they learn it,
but
they just can't keep it up. So we'll talk about that. Tell me about it. How have you been able to work under Grant for 8 years in one of the hardest spaces?
Yeah, no, I mean it is tough because you're cold calling companies. You're actually calling business owners that, you know, a lot of them have been in business for 20, 30 years. You're calling them to negotiate with them. You're trying to help them out. They've had everybody try to pitch them everything for many years, and now all of a sudden you're calling to get them excited. So you got to create massive interest, and everybody's calling them to tell them, hey, we'll do whatever it takes. So they hear it every day. So it's kind of like
from their own guys too.
Exactly.
So just taking through a picture. So your business, you guys literally will pick up a phone and you'll cold call a business owner.
Yep.
Who has a sales team.
Yep.
Automotive.
Yeah.
Furniture, windows, roofing, electronics.
Yeah. We also work with like dentists, chiropractors. We work with plumbers, roofers. You know.
We have a funeral company in Canada as a client.
Oh yeah.
Or I think it's a funeral company. I don't know.
Yeah.
They sell caskets and tombstones and stuff. Yeah. So pretty much everything.
I had one of those clients too. So we had, we work with them. Really anybody who is someone who has to be a salesperson for an organization, like a revenue generator, somebody that's got to create interest. There's an opportunity for like upsells, second sales, like anybody who's communicating with people, we really teach them how to communicate better to have a better experience for the customer, better experience with the salesperson.
What to say.
Exactly.
How to say it.
Most people have never been taught about communication, really even understanding
objections.
How to close a deal.
They've been told it's luck, or you sink or swim, figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. Or you'll hear that, you're either born with it, or you'll hear, who's a born salesperson.
Yeah.
Dude, I was not a born salesperson at all.
Yeah.
I grew up on a farm, so I didn't know a salesperson.
Okay, good. So this gives you an idea of what we're talking about and what we're selling. And we'll talk about that too, like when you're selling this product specifically. Like when someone buys like a BMW, they're going to go look at an M5, or you had the Jaguar F-Type, right?
Yeah.
With the V8 and the supercharged, what was that? Type R, right?
Type R, yeah.
Okay.
All-wheel
And
drive, that thing's bad.
so if your sales guy screws up a little bit,
Yeah.
but you love the car, there's merit in the car, you're like, I'll take the car. Like,
yeah. It's funny that you use those two scenarios, because when I was looking to buy, I was looking at an M5 BMW, and I was looking at the Jaguar, the F-Type.
Okay,
and
cool.
the BMW guy did screw up.
Cost him the deal.
Cost him the deal. He didn't understand sales. Like, he didn't understand one, that I was like highly qualified to buy the product. He didn't understand that I was.
Is that because you're a white guy? Because in Vancouver, if you're a 19-year-old Asian guy
Yeah.
who weighs like 90 pounds soaking wet, you walk into a Lambo dealership, they're all over you.
Yeah.
If you're a white dude, they walk in,
They
oh,
say
you
no.
don't have no money.
Yeah.
By the way, we're not politically correct. You can say whatever you want.
Okay, good. Well, I live in Miami, so I'm like the only white guy down here.
Yeah.
Everybody, so when they see me coming in, you know, they're used to Russian money. They're used to
No, bro, duh,
yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Yes.
Or they're used to you know, the Latin money from you know, Colombia.
So
or
we just
that.
came in from Colombia actually right before this.
Nice. Yeah. So you know, so they all come here, like the people that have money.
It's an international city, big
Totally.
time. It's
Yeah.
like the new New York, especially
Yeah, like
since
I'm
they
a-
ruined New York, so now they're
Yeah,
over
like
here.
that's right.
Yeah.
So I'm not normal here, right? So when they see me come in, they're
Farm boy from Indiana.
Yeah, they're like, dude, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Got a little bit of an accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little bit though, it's almost gone, man.
Yeah, well, I've been here for a while, so.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, so anyway, so we're getting to it. So we're talking about cars and how the sales guy screwed up his deal, but when you're selling sales training, that's really why I wanted to bring Steve to you guys, is you sell sales training. If you don't know how to, if there's anything wrong with your sales process, whether it's in the intro, putting the buyer at ease, like literally confronting their fears and their objections before they come up. If it's doing your fact find and finding out why the guy's looking to buy what he wants to buy, whether it's the presentation demonstration and you actually showing the guy what's actually important to him and having a process for that. If you mess that up, or if you mess up the trial closes where you actually test the buyer's willingness to purchase, you miss any of these steps when you're selling sales training, the business owner you're pitching, they're like, oh, well, obviously your sales training's no good.
Exactly.
Whereas if I'm selling a car or I'm selling telecom, I could not do all that perfect, but have a really good product, and the guy's like, oh, I'll buy the product. But if you're selling sales training, it is literally the major leagues of sales.
You're the product.
You are the product.
You know, a lot of times they gotta like you. You gotta be able to find their pain points, their problems, like areas that they're not even able to think with. And these are people that have been running a successful business for a long time. So you're creating interest through identifying problems that they have. So you gotta come in with a little bit of altitude. So imagine,
or else they're just like,
you know, you got a 30-year-old guy coming in calling a 55-year-old business owner who makes money, and you're telling him that, hey man, I'm gonna make you money. He does not believe any of that at all.
And I think for two reasons, if I can share one of them that I noticed. One is he would believe that if it existed, if he's confident, it actually goes three ways. If he's confident, there's no way he hasn't figured it out yet.
Yep.
You have. Two, if he's not that confident, he might even believe that like you have an answer, but he might not believe that he can make it work. That's another thing. Smaller dealerships, smaller businesses, they think, but they have their own objections about themselves.
Yeah, there's that internal thing that they have where it's like they've tried other products that are similar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It'd be like somebody going to a gym, you know, like, oh, you know, I went to a gym, I tried Pilates, I tried the yoga, I don't know, none of it's working, and all of a sudden you're calling up the new workout where you're like, hey man, this one's a lot better.
Yeah, you guys are the deal doctors. You're like, I'm gonna get you more deals, I'm gonna fix your business.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Right.
they don't believe it.
Yeah, and they're like, and so they're the experts in their business too. So you're telling them, hey, I'm gonna help you get more deals, and they're thinking, how are you gonna help me get more deals with my business? You know, so it's tough, man. It's tough, but
A lot of baggage. The customer carries a lot of baggage.
yeah. So my boss, Grant Cardone, he told me, he said, if you get good at this, he told me, he said, forget the money that you'll make here. If you learn this one skill, you can go anywhere in life. And that always stuck with me. And from that day on, I think that's why I don't mind getting hit in the face a little bit. You know,
One of the toughest sons of bitches that I know, I'll be real. I did this job full time for 2 years. I was on the phone with this guy probably 3-4 times a weekend, coaching him and Todd and Jared. And my body just like, I was like, I'm done. Like technically, like there's no excuse. Like I couldn't. My body said, "Fuck this, I'm out."
Yeah.
And I literally inundated. Like I kept it up. I sold 2.6 million my first year. I closed 2.1 of that myself.
Mm-hmm.
My second year, I closed 2 million, but only in 8 months. And then my team closed another 2 million. But I didn't handle it. Like my body was just like the punches, the rejection, the emotional baggage that comes with it. Man.
There's a lot, but it is rewarding. Like you're playing a bigger, stronger game, and so you know how it feels when you close a big deal like that. There's this like beingness that like comes in where you're like, dude, I'm the man. Like, you feel a lot.
You walk around with swagger for sure.
Yeah. You work at you work at a place where people walk in and they take
an order.
Like, you're not. I don't know if you're getting that same power, that beingness that where you're like, dude, I'm like, man, like.
So bigger the challenge, bigger the reward, bigger the barrier, bigger the freedom, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like playing a game, right? So you win a game of chess, like, dude, there's a lot of skill involved versus like, I beat you at tic-tac-toe.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
And you beat somebody good. You beat a business owner. Yeah. Not beat them, but you played that game.
It's kind of like
verbal judo.
It's kind of like that. Yeah, but in a really positive way, right? Like it's not like you beat him. It's like you overcame his self-doubt so much that like you won. Now being able to deliver something that helps somebody.
This is mental gymnastics. Okay, great. So you guys can see that obviously Steve knows what he's talking about. So why don't we talk a little bit about, so you're how old?
34.
He's 34. Shit, man. Okay, I got some catching up to do. So he's 34. You dropped out of college, university, graduate, or did you go to college?
Well, yeah. So I dropped out of community college, but
what'd you take?
Well, I did like business administration. I think was what they had. So I wasn't like a special. It was a community college. So I dropped out after going to a couple of years. I was in and out. I thought it was the right thing to do. I was told this is what you have to do, right? So I'm like, I couldn't afford to go to a regular college, so I'm working and I was just trying to make payments every month. So if I could afford a check, I would buy a course. Like, I remember some semesters I was only doing one class. Sometimes I would do like 3 classes because I would.
Is it Indiana?
Yeah, Indiana.
Okay. Yeah.
And then so I don't know. I did a bunch of classes over like 3, 4, 5 years, and then I dropped out, so I wasn't really going full time.
Okay.
My mom calls me one day and she goes, "You didn't tell me that you graduated?" And I was like, "What? Graduated from what?" And she's like, "Well, I'm holding an associate's degree right now." And I'm like, "Really?" So I guess I had enough credits that they said.
You finished your program.
I finished some program. I don't even know what it was. I still to this day haven't seen it. My mom has it.
Okay, so you did that, and then what year did you leave school?
Man, that would have been.
How many years were you in college? 1 year, 2 years?
Well, no, I was in and out for 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, because there was some semesters where
you got the stick and stay power, dude. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
I was out after 1 year.
I thought it was the right thing,
Yeah.
So, and I was trying to play that catch up all the time, and I had friends who were going to college, and I always felt like I remember the ones that were going. They went to the good college. I would go see them on the weekends, and I was jealous. I really was. I would be like, dang man, like I almost felt like I was missing something, like I wasn't gonna make it, and I think that's what kept me in there. And they graduated, they got the good degrees. Things are a lot different today.
Yeah, let's fast forward.
Yeah,
okay, so you finished, you went to school and you came out, and let's just fast forward right now. So you're 34 years old. Congratulations, by the way. So before we did this, we'll actually cut to this segment. Steve was telling us how he keeps himself broke. Okay. So he says he never has money on him. So you've officially invested $1 million in Cardone Capital, which is a real estate program.
Yep, that's right.
And that's not the bank putting up $1 million to your 100, or putting up $1 million to your 250K. That's you putting in $1 million.
I personally wrote $1 million worth of checks.
U.S.
So, U.S.
After taxes.
After taxes.
After paying your taxes.
After paying my bills, after paying taxes, after doing self-development, after donating to charities.
Yeah.
I mean, people never ask me about how much I donate. Dude, I donated a lot. Like, and I.
Me too.
Lots
of donations.
I know. And so, and that's some of the things I'm most proud about too. I've got a nice plaque over there that's real heavy. That's
what's the number on that plaque?
On that one I think was 45.
Okay. 45.
Yeah.
But I know there's another 6-figure number there, other types of donations.
Exactly, yeah. So I have a lot, and it's just, dude, I like to help people, and that's what I think. I like to play the big game, so I can't help people. So
that tells a lot, because we could talk about how much you've made, which we're going to, but you've brought in a lot and kept a lot.
Yeah, I think
I've been able to bring in tons, but then I do things with it. I mean, I just bought a company, so you bought real estate. I bought a company, but the discipline that you have is crazy.
I think it freaks people out. It's like they're like they know they're like, man, so you go broke, or like they're like, explain to me that go broke thing, and I'm like, well, I get a paycheck and I pay my bills, and then I whatever I have left, I write that check. Like right now, I probably have $1,500 in my checking account.
And you cut it thin, man. You cut it thin.
Dude, actually, I overdraft probably like 3 or 4 times a year, and I'm a millionaire. Like I have money coming in passively that if I don't do anything, it comes in and overpays my bills. So I'm trying to. If you look at Warren Buffett, like I read a lot of books on him and what he's done. Dude, he was shoving all in big time. And he was going in. That's what the major players do. They put everything into sure things. They do not mess around. If it is a sure thing, if they know, 1, they can't lose the money, and 2, it has a really good chance of growing and multiplying, dude, they go all in.
This is validating me a little bit because I made a decision like that, but it was in March.
Yeah.
Right before COVID.
Yeah.
I went all in.
Yeah.
And I bought a company, a type of business that in the last 40 years has never gone downward. And then COVID happens, but it's back now. We only have 8 people, and it's cranking out cash.
That's awesome.
So continue though. So you go all in. So you're following the strategies of these guys. You're going all in. You put $1 million away, and you're literally take your paychecks now. Most amount of active income, excluding your passive income, real estate deals. Most amount of active income you made in a year.
$746,000 US.
Listen to the specifics. $746,000 US. That's 400 million Canadian. Okay, and if that's pesos, Colombian pesos. We just came back from Colombia. Dude, we were so rich, dude. 2 people, 4 meals, drinks, everything, tip, tax included, was like $30 US.
Yeah.
So $746,000. Well, I gotta shake your hand on that one. We're not afraid of handshakes here.
Yeah.
So $746,000, and and the government probably takes, in this state, 30 some odd percent of that?
39.
That's great, man. It's 52 where I'm at.
Yeah.
So
that sucks.
It does suck.
Yeah.
There's no other way to put it. Okay, so $746,000. So how do you go from, now let's talk about this, when you came to Miami. Mm-hmm. So let's just rewind a little bit now. So we know where he's at now, unless you want to say something else, but
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
So $746,000 a year. Let's rewind back to, you got out of school. Where'd you end up?
Well, I mean, I had a couple different sales jobs. I would bounce around from sales jobs. I sold cars, I sold real estate, I sold insurance.
Any good at any of it in the beginning?
I was not good at any of it. I was not working on myself. I was not working on my skill. I could have been good in every single one of those. There were people in every single one of those industries actually doing well. And I came in and I said, dude, and I started looking at all the negative stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, this sucks. This is not a good business. This is no good. I can't make money here. Blah, 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 blah. And somebody finally one day goes, I had been to a couple different jobs, and I tried those jobs, and those don't work. And he was like, dude, you know that you're the same ingredient in every.
You're the common denominator.
Yeah, and I was like, and I thought about it, and I was like, oh dang, I might do that. And then he messed me up that day. I think I went home. I was just like blown away. I'm like, dude, it's been me the whole time.
Yeah, you just went like this.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way it felt. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So once I figured out that, dude, it's me and I need to change it. I need to actually change the way, because I've always wanted to be successful. I don't think there's anybody who doesn't want to be successful.
I agree. Yeah, I've never met anybody who didn't. Especially early, before they accumulate the failures, and then they get advice from their friends who give them bad advice, and their parents who tell them to slow down. Before all that, everyone I was hanging out with when I was 19, 20 was going to be big. They were gonna go after business or some successful role, and then they accumulate the losses, and then they go to someone to validate what they're experiencing.
Yeah, and then they shut down everything. They tell you when you start talking about that, you're like, no, that one doesn't work. That was me at that time, where I think I was probably telling somebody.
Yeah, and that's what I want to ask you. Sorry, I just want to get this out of you because I know we could talk all night.
Yeah.
So you did that. You failed. You hopped around. I wouldn't say failed, but you quit before you saw the success.
Yep.
Okay. You hopped around, and then you found out about Grant Cardone in Miami.
Yep.
So you came down here with no money.
I borrowed $500 from my grandma. I came down here. I had no money. I couldn't afford to live.
What were you driving? Sorry, we're a car show too.
I was driving a red 2005 Infiniti G35.
Okay.
With a salvage title, so I bought it for like half.
Oh, you bought it right off? Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I bought it half of what it was worth because it was wrecked, but it was in good condition. So
it looked good.
It looked good, but I'm on the inside driving knowing that dude, it was a junker.
It was in a serious accident.
It actually looked
but they look good because
it looked good. It looked good, but it was it was a lie. It was a lie. That's why I just don't do that anymore because I didn't feel good doing that.
There's no fake Louis V bags.
I don't have any. Oh my gosh, I don't do anything like that. I'm just like, hey, look, man, if I can't do it, like, why would I?
Yeah, I can't take the fake Rollies. I can't take the fake Louis. That's Louis V, but that's real. The fake or the Mont Blancs. I can't do anything fake. So if I can't afford it, I can't afford it. That's why I don't own a watch.
I don't wear.
I bought a car, but I don't want. I didn't buy the watch. Grant's like, oh, I buy watches. I'm like, I can't drive a watch. So you know what I mean.
I don't wear watches either, but that was the thing. When I came down here, like I wasn't even worried about those. I just had to get in a new environment. I had to get around people. Like you get to a place where like you're so low that you're not even saying it, but dude, something has to change. And I don't know what it is, but you're like willing to try anything. Well, I was willing to move from Indiana to Miami, where
got away from all the old friends.
And I love those people.
Any habits back then, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, dude, smoked booze, drank all the time. I mean, it was bad. Like it was bad, and I felt like I would justify by saying, well, like I don't do some of the hardcore things like what my friends do.
Yeah, I did.
I was doing some of them, but like they were doing them all the time, and I would always compare myself where I would be like, hey, you know what? At least I'm not that guy.
Yeah. I had that wake up call. That's actually what made me move across. I went from Toronto to Vancouver.
Oh, really?
My buddy called me. I used to do it. I used to smoke weed pretty much every night.
Yeah.
Used to drink 5 nights a week, 4 nights a week, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Tuesday nights because it was cheap drink night.
Yeah.
And then we would do MDMA and cocaine and stuff on the weekends. And then my buddy called me on a Wednesday night, and he's like, "Yo, I got some good whatever it was, M or Coke or something." And luckily this voice just went off in my head and it was like, dude, it's Wednesday. Like your buddy's calling you on a Wednesday, something's wrong. Like I literally had that cognition and like literally 3 weeks later I was like,
dude, that's
so
awesome.
I lucked out. I think if there is luck,
it
was just that cognition. And then like from there I acted on it.
Yeah, exactly. You have to act on those times where it's like you have them all the time.
Wake up calls.
Yeah, they're not even wake up calls. I think a lot of times like when you're not doing good and you're like you have that thought for a second where you're like, dang dude, like you have it every day when you wake up from a bad night. You have that, like even on a hangover. I remember I'd wake up and I'd be like, I would even be sitting there looking at myself in the mirror where I had the headache and I'd be like, dude, I can't do this anymore. But then I would be back drinking again that night where I had those moments, but you have to act on them, So I acted on it that time by moving away. And when I got down here to Miami, the rent was
that's what I want to know. So you get to Miami, so you got the friends, you're partying, they're doing more drugs than you are, and you're comparing yourself to shit.
Yeah,
you're slightly less shit, so you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But was there a wake up cognition? Was there like holy shit? Like was there a holy shit moment, or was it just like no, I need to just get away?
Yeah, at that time, like probably a year before that, I had broken up with a girl that I was with for a couple years. So like I think coming on that I was on a downward spiral, a decline for like a year, and like things weren't getting better. And I had 3 jobs inside that year. Those didn't work out. I ended up borrowing some money from a guy to try to do a job for him, and then I couldn't even pay that guy back. Then I had that guy breathing down my. So I had lost relationship. I had debts. I was
personal debts too.
Personal debts. I had a freaking car that like I probably shouldn't even be driving and couldn't afford. And I owed this guy money and all that. And like
he had a broken heart. His heart broke.
Yeah, exactly. And that was like that was probably one of the least, but that's where like some of it started. Like
the loss, because then you accumulate the losses when you're focused on them.
Yeah, because I paid attention to that for months by just thinking that like, dude, this didn't work out. And then I start looking at all the things that I was doing wrong. So I look at that and then I like failed job. And there's like fail. And I got all these failures around me. And I was just like, dude, something has to happen. And that was when I decided to come down here.
Okay, and so you come down here, you have $500 borrowed money, salvage title in your car, and the rent you came to Miami, or did you come to
Miami?
Miami.
Yep.
Okay. Grant's old office, the one I came to, or was
the old office? His old office, which is in North Beach.
Yeah. Okay. The one I was at when I first met you.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And it was in the tiny space too. You didn't have that extra call center.
Yeah, I was in they put me in a closet, so it was a big one. And so there was like this big room, and then there was like this.
He's out of the closet now.
Yeah, I'm out of there now. I'm out of there. Yeah, there was this other big. It was like a room, but it was like a closet, like storage for stuff we would ship. And they kind of, at first I was over in the other room, but it was so tight that they were like, hey, you're making calls, like they just go to that other room.
And Grant wanted to fire you a whole bunch.
Oh yeah, he
wanted to
said
that.
Yeah, because I wasn't good, like,
Yeah.
you know.
He's like, Steve, this guy's never gonna make it. This guy's never.
He wanted to fire me. He told Jared 3 different times. He said, dude, fire this guy.
Yeah.
This is not gonna work. You know. So, but the living situation down here, so it was more than 3 or 4 times what I had ever paid in Indiana to live in the ghetto here. So I'm coming down and I'm looking and I'm like, new city, nobody speaks English really, they primarily speak Spanish here. And so I come down.
The areas you're in are all Spanish. Where you're looking to live.
Exactly, all Spanish. 100%. Even some of the signs are Spanish. You go to the restaurants, they're Spanish. You have to ask for a menu.
Man, him and I just came back from Colombia, dude. Neither of us speak Spanish. We had such a hard time.
Yeah, so you know what it's like. That's this down here, right? So then I was doing that, but I couldn't afford to live. I ended up finding somebody on Craigslist who told me, she said, hey, you can live in the back of my furniture store. I will make a cot and I will give you a dresser.
Okay, I'm laughing because I can relate, okay?
Yeah. And dude, and I was like, but you know what? I was so happy at that time because I was like, okay, that was like my first win. Because I didn't think, I was like, dude, I'm not going to be able to come down there just because I can't afford to live.
Put things in perspective a bit.
Yeah, but this is where people give up all the time. You know, even in sales, this is where they give up because like something stops, there's a little road bump, and then they're like, oh, I can't do that. There was so many times I could have said I couldn't do that. Like I didn't have the money, I was borrowing money, I was coming down, there's no place to live, I didn't speak the language, and I come down and I find somebody who allows me to stay there, so I stayed there.
So you're celebrating that. I mean, why not, right?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay. So you live in the furniture store.
Yeah.
Now you're working at Grant's office.
Right.
And you're
sold my car.
How long for your first day? So you sell the car.
Sell the car. Rode
You
the
taking the bus?
Walked 8 blocks. So the way to work, I had to walk 8 blocks in a suit in Miami. I don't know if you got, like, it's not that hot out today, but it's probably.
No, I lived in Tampa all year through the summer.
Yeah, so
and it was like a soup bowl.
Yeah. So
you walk outside and you're wet.
Yeah. So exactly. So imagine doing that every morning, except for you're walking 8 blocks in a suit. And then on the way home, I had to walk an additional 6 blocks one way and then another 8 blocks back. So both times I'm walking to and from work to the bus. So
you took a bus.
Yeah, so I'd have to walk to the bus stop.
Public transfer, man. Like, the most infectious thing is mediocrity. So how do you? Because now you're on a
Oh,
bus.
well, this was worse.
And I know that sounds pretentious, and we don't give a shit. Okay, like if you can avoid public transport at all costs, but if you need to do it, do it. But tell me about it.
Yeah, like
you're on the bus.
I did it, but dude, it was bad. Like that was the worst environment. Like so, I'm standing there and I'm like, what? You know, every day I'm thinking, what am I doing? What am I doing? And then I call back home. You know, and I got family members that are like,
come home.
Yeah,
did you get that one?
Yeah, hey,
you can come home anytime you want.
Yeah, hey,
yeah.
You're riding the bus. You got rid of your car. They couldn't even figure out the get rid of the car thing. I'm like, guys, I don't need the car because I can ride the bus and I can use that money. And they're like, but you don't have a car. And I'm like, you know, because we grew up in the farm.
Dude, I grew up in like Ontario, which is similar culture to Indiana. Everyone has a car.
Everybody's
a car. Like right when you're 17, you get a car of some sort, right?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
upgrade it, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My parents have 5 cars. They're all old junker, like
okay.
Old the cars they've had like 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're not worth anything. They're like you could buy it for $1,000. You know.
Okay, so you're calling home because same thing for me. I was doing door-to-door sales. My second year out, I'm living in some lady's basement, literally, and then I was in Edmonton living in some dude's basement, and there was another old dude. He was renting out the basement to 2 different people, me and this old guy who never left, and he just drank an Ensure. Like he can't make this shit up, dude.
Yeah.
And I call my dad, and I'm like breaking down. I'm making money though. Like I was actually succeeding, but I was going out every day, pouring rain. Edmonton snows in May, so I'm out there in the snow.
Yeah, I've been out there in November. Yeah.
Yeah, it's freaking terrible. And then I call my dad, and my dad, like, they love you. So it's not like they're trying to hurt you or anything. They're just like, hey man, like, why don't you come home? Like, you can come home anytime you want. And I'm like punching the ceiling of my car. Remember, I'm like, I'm not gonna quit.
Yeah.
You know? So you're calling home, they're telling you, hey, you can come home. They're offering you the easy out.
Yeah, they believed in me, but my dad was always like, you know, he's like, I always thought he always tells me, like, I always thought you were gonna come home. You know, like he is like so proud of me. Like we have such a good relationship, but like at that time, dude, they didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah,
they couldn't even make sense of it, right? So you guys gotta watch for that. Like the people around you don't always understand why you're doing something or what you're doing. And so the advice that you get from people, even though it comes from a place of caring, dude, it might not be the right advice. And that's where most people screw themselves up big time because, dude, they're getting advice that appears to be good.
Yeah, but it creates their reality.
Yeah, like
it creates, like, my whole thing in our rule book here is who do you listen to? Is you listen to people who have created a reality that you want to create.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what, like, my old friends, they used to be like, hey man, dude, have a couple drinks, you know, I gotta work tomorrow.
Oh, man,
Dude,
it's there.
God, dude, it's 2 beers, you know, and then 2 beers and a bottle of vodka later, you know.
Yeah,
you're right, right? Yeah.
You're slow for a week.
Exactly.
People think the hangover's a day. Dude, you smoke a joint, you're high for a night, you're slow for a month.
Yeah.
You know, and then when you're in the negotiating room with this guy, you're not any close, and you're not close. It's not even a comparison. These guys are getting high.
Well, now I don't even drink. Now, I mean, I would like I every once in a while like
celebrate
a glass of wine. Yeah, exactly. So and when I do have so now where I don't drink and I'll have a glass of wine, dude, it affects me for like 3 days.
Yeah. It's like you notice like you misplace your keys. I never misplace anything, but like actually when I'm on the road I do because I'm displaced. But like when I'm in my flow, I'm like, whoa, I can tell I drank last night because I don't know where I put that.
Yeah.
You know.
Now even like New Year's came around this year and I was like, you know, they were like doing the champagne. I'm like, I just, you know, like.
Take a little bit.
Yeah.
Sip it. Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah, like I don't even want to like do it almost because I'm like, I know I'm actually better now. Actually, I'm better now. I have more fun. Like it's so I don't need to do that.
Okay, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Good question. How does someone recognize the difference between changing their environment because they're surrounded by dog shit or making their current opportunity work? So they're in a job right now. They're in a sales job, and it's tough. They feel like quitting.
Yeah.
How do they recognize all right, I should just make this thing work, stick and stay's bound to pay. But not all the time, too, right? Sometimes you're just like, no, I need to quit.
Yeah.
What's your advice? I mean, you've trained, probably if I were to guess, indirectly, probably 100,000 salespeople through all your videos and training on Cardone. I mean, directly spoken in front of tens of thousands.
At least,
right? So, what would you say you've seen? When should somebody say, hey, this opportunity is bullshit?
This is a great question.
Because honestly, it was like, guys get hopped up. So I had a guy quit on me this year. My top guy, he would have made 300 grand this year. Last year he made 200. And COVID happened. And dude, the biggest thing for COVID for me was I'm not able to control the space of what my salespeople are hearing and seeing every day.
Yeah.
So I called them all back after COVID, and they're all fucked mentally. They're all brainwashed. They're all like, oh, I'm getting my socialism money. I'm going to pursue music. Oh, hey, I read all these self-help books. I need to go on to business on my own if I'm going to make it. And I'm like, dude, like, what's your business plan? Oh, I don't have one yet, but I read this book and the guy says if you're going to be wealthy, you have to work for yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, you're not bouncing those ideas off anybody. It's a book, you know? So how does someone recognize, because there's so many young people that jump around. Like I've stuck and stayed.
Yep.
Like I was the youngest executive in $1 billion company. That was when I was your client, you know, at Ledcore. And I put in 4 years. Yeah. And I wanted to quit, man. Like I started that business knocking doors. I was the first person to knock the first door.
I remember.
And then grew it to being an executive. And then this business, I started my freaking condo.
Yeah.
I wanted to quit every day.
Yeah.
The worst feeling. You had to take your shoes off when you came to the office.
It's awesome.
And stuck that out to now, you know, in the next 12 months, we'll probably do $7 million.
It's awesome.
So I stuck it out. But there's a lot of times when you do need to be like, this is bullshit, and go somewhere else. How do you recognize that?
Great question. So what you would want to do is, just like when you're in a relationship, you sit down and write out what do you want, and write out like, hey, what would I want out of this job over this year, next year, 5 years, 10 years? Just write it out. It's really simple. Like I do this all the time. I just write out a list like, hey, what's this look like? Then look at who in that company or that area is doing that or has the same interest in doing that, and then you got to look at what are the stats. A lot of people talk. A lot of people say this. A lot of people say that. Dude, it's one thing that I've learned over the years. People lie. Statistics, they do not lie. You have to look at them. That's why when you
production statistics, like what's their scorecard? Like, does the guy know how to play basketball? Does he have the ball?
Yeah, but has he won games? Yeah. Has he won games?
Rings.
Does he play? You know what I mean? And then you got to also look at like who is that person ethically. So ethics is big, statistics are big. Are they on the same path as you? And is anybody else there doing what you want to do? If not, like, are the people, like if you're in the car and you've got 4 people in there, are you guys all going to the same place? Or does one person want to go to Disneyland and the other person wants to go to the beach,
Or the weed store beside it.
or the other guy wants to go to the weed store, because guys, you're not going to get anywhere, and you're going to wreck, and that's what's going to happen. And so you just gotta. This takes no time. Sit down, write out, what do I want? Don't hold back on this. You gotta put in what you want, because if you start lying to yourself and you start, like, when I'm writing my goals down, if I want to be a billionaire, dude, the second I back off on that idea, the second where I'm like, dude, I do want to be a billionaire, but then I'm like, you know what, like, dude, that'd be crazy. Dude, once I abandon that, I will abandon everything else after that. I'll abandon tomorrow's sales calls. I'll abandon waking up early. I'll start abandoning every little thing just because that one thing. So, dude, if you want it, like, dude, put it down, like, make it real, like, and then once you have that list, you gotta look. What does your environment look like? Because I will tell you that the quickest way to see success is to change the environment. You could simply increase your ability by changing the environment. Now, the one thing you also got to look at is, dude, you're taking yourself, this is what I told you earlier, you're taking yourself to that next environment. So guess what? If you were the one that was mucking up that environment, this is the other part of your question. How do I know when I stick and stay? And then how do I know when I move on? Well, dude, if you're taking you to that next environment, guess what? You're either going to muddy it up or you're going to help it. So who's the real crowd? You got to confront yourself first to find out, dude, what do my ethics look like? What are my stats? Like, maybe stats early on were, how many calls did I make today? How many presentations did I send out today? Right? Did I get any deals early? No, I didn't. But my stats were there. They're like, hey man, they're like, dude, if I just keep
production, activity levels were there.
This is why Jared never fired me when Grant said, hey, dude, get rid of that guy. Because Grant was going on feelings at that time where he was like, hey, this guy's not going to get us what we want. But Jared was like, no, I just seen this guy. I mean, the guy's putting up numbers. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it'll click. At some point, this guy's going to have done it so many times, he's going to get good. And
I love Jared, man. Jared believes in me too, man. He believes in me too.
Yeah.
You know? Like, we shot up because you guys were closing all our deals in the beginning.
Yep.
So we brought in 300, and Todd was astounded. We called him after the second day. We're like, we booked 20 demos. He's like, he didn't book 20 demos or pretend demos. And then they were actually demos. Like maybe 12 of them were real.
I remember that day actually.
And we got $320,000 in our first month between our 4 guys that no one knew what the hell they were doing.
Yeah.
Right? But you guys closed them. We set the demos, and then we listened to you, Dave, Jared, and Jordan.
Yeah, I remember you.
And Heath.
Yeah.
And Bonnet.
Yeah.
And then you guys were like, all right, we've done enough for you now. Now you guys close the deals. And then we went cold. I mean, not a fucking deal for 2 straight months, all of us.
I remember.
And Kyle sits down with me, and I'm like, all right, we go out for coffee. I'm like, all right, how much money do we have left? He's like, we have about 35 to 40 days of cash left, and then we're bankrupt, and then we have to close everything down.
Oh, well.
We can't make payroll.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that did to me, man, but I was like, fuck that. Because I had left being the chief of 200 people in the corporate world, and they're all watching to see if I flunk.
Oh, yeah.
And they all think I'm king shit. It was actually good to have a reputation like that, because the pressure, I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm going bankrupt.
It's good to have that.
You know?
You kind of need that too, because if not, you start to talk yourself out of things a little bit. Yeah. That was one of the things, like when I was new to Grants and I wasn't doing good there, like one of the things that kept me going was the fact that I knew he didn't want me to work there. Like, so I was going there.
I think that kept Morgan in my business, man.
Oh,
Sorry, Morgan, but like Morgan knows. I was always yelling at Morgan. You screamed at him all the time.
He would call and text me all the time, and I'd be like, dude, what is this kid doing?
Dude, he set you up with a demo one time, and then you called me, and then I called him. I'm like, yo, Morgan.
I know.
What the fuck? Why are you wasting Steve's time?
I didn't even call Morgan. I called you to yell at you.
Yeah. Dude, how many times did I apologize to you for us?
You did. But you guys are amazing. Yeah. But I remember one day I told you about Morgan. I said, dude, Morgan's going to be the all-star in your office. And
you did say that. You did say that.
Yeah,
I picture.
Yeah. And this was early on, but he had that thing that I knew that I had, where it was like, I wasn't the all-star in there, but like there was so much work and interest in actually doing well that like I popped, and I could see that in him.
He'll make over $250,000 this year, but even if he doesn't increase.
Yeah, I talked to him. I talked to him a lot. Yeah,
and that's not. I didn't give him that's not a salary that I gave him. That's his friggin' income.
I know.
From his commissions. Plus, I'm give salary. Plus, he gets profit share. Like, be surprised if he doesn't make $350,000.
Yeah, he'll be somebody who makes over $1 million a year for sure.
Yeah,
probably even more than that.
I'm gonna give him the business, equity, everything.
I love that.
If he's gonna treat it like an owner, then he's gonna be an owner. You know
That's cool. That's what. So this goes back to the question that you first asked.
Well, when it ties to Jared, I was just saying, like, Jared
Yeah.
believed in me. Jared believed in you. Huge
Yeah.
shout out to Jared because he was constantly like, dude, like, you just got to do it. Like, trust me, just keep going.
Yeah.
You believed in me, and we imparted that in the morning, which is cool.
Yeah.
So you had somebody believe in you, pushing you through, and we're talking about the question was like, all right, so you talked about knowing when to quit where you're at because you're surrounded by people who are going nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
You're driving around, you're driving in a Camry to the weed store instead of driving, who cares, in a Camry, but going in the right direction.
Yeah, like what are you doing with your time? You know?
Yeah. And now we're talking about, okay, so now you brought yourself to the new job,
Yep.
and now you got to confront your own shit. Your
Yeah.
own limitations, your own
Yeah.
bad habits.
Yeah, here's the limitations. Nobody ever taught me about sales, and I had a sales job for 6 years. It's something that I hear from people all the time. You know, I ask them like, you know, hey, what's your skill? Oh, well, I've been doing this for 5 years. Okay, well, dude, I remember back when had been doing it for 5 years, I was terrible and broke. You know, so like your time in something doesn't mean, like, your tenure does not equal your success. Your ability to produce does. And so I confronted that saying, dude, I don't actually know how to produce. Like, I need somebody to kind of hold my hand along the way. So once I recognized that, studying, listening to calls, books, training, I went deep on
the
Grant.
discipline you have on that, I still don't.
I was doing 2 hours a day. I still today, can you imagine every single day for 8 years doing at least an hour and a half of training? People always ask me, and I'm like, dude, I do it for an hour in the morning. I work out and listen to it. I read books at night before I go to bed. I listen to
I
audio.
saw the book collection when we came in.
Yeah, did you see how big my TV was in here?
Yes, I didn't see it at all.
Yeah, because there's not one in here. I've had a TV in 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you shop? What's the next car choice?
I'm gonna do a Lambo.
Yeah, and what don't Lambo as a company have?
They don't have commercials.
No commercials.
Yeah.
Not on TV. It's
Yeah.
because their customers aren't
They're
watching fucking TV.
not
man.
there. Yeah. And I've been able to accumulate enough to where my passive income pays for my condo.
And we're going to show that, by the way. So before we bounce, we're going to do a quick tour. We're downtown Miami right now. It's not cheap. It's got like 5 security guards. Amazing place. We'll do a little video of the lobby on our way out, and you can see where we're at right now. So your passive income's covering this place.
Oh yeah, it covers everything. I mean, it covers this. So and I built it up to where it's going to cover the car too. So, you know, that's just the game that I play. I pack away so much money that I'm like, hey, wait until that pays. That's where my discipline comes in. That's where, like, I don't need the car. You know, like, I've never gotten a deal because I had the car. Dude, I like the car because, dude, it makes me feel good. It freaking jacks me up when I get in there.
But did it recruit anybody for you?
Yeah.
Because my car's recruited me a lot.
Yeah. So, but you recruit sales guys. Like,
Yeah.
I know. You know, I'm like, you know.
But you train them.
I do train
Right.
them. Yeah. There's no doubt that it wouldn't help me in actually show. It's a way to show people that, like, hey, dude, this guy
Is a winner.
He's a winner.
Yeah.
And that's what I do like about it. You know.
I mean, there's a lot. We're not talking about the guys who are leasing them or taking pictures in front of them for their Bitcoin operation.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any Bitcoin customers, but I can't stand these guys that
I live in
reach out to me.
Miami, dude. They're everywhere.
Bro, I have Bitcoin operation for you. Okay, I'm going to make it passive income. Right? They add me on Instagram. They're like, bro, what is your business?
Yeah.
You know.
I get that.
And I'm like, man, I'm not interested, bro.
Yeah.
And then they don't even overcome my like. Of course you're interested. You know,
Yeah.
what would you be interested in? Like, they don't even ask you that. You know. It's
Yeah.
just, okay, so that kind of sums that up. So you confront yourself, you do what you need to do, and then you're constantly paying attention to that there's people in your environment now that are still going where you want to go, that there's people achieving what you want to achieve, and that's how you stick it out. Because in your business, Grant was still achieving what you want to achieve. Jared was doing decent.
Yeah.
Todd was there.
Yeah, Todd was there. You know, these guys are all sharp. They all want to do well. They're ethical. They work their ass off. Like, they want, like,
And they're producers too.
they're all producers, and we all think the same thing. Like, we all feel like in other people's eyes, they see us as like, wow, these guys are all millionaires. They're all young. They're all
Major
they're all
league
successful. They get to do all the cool stuff. But real, like, behind closed doors, like, I mean, we're like looking to like, when are we gonna like really get our shit together on this? You know, like, when are we gonna like pop? Like, when are we gonna figure this thing out? Because, like, our goals are so big, our targets are high. We're chasing big things that we're playing a big game, you know? So, like, every day we're like going in there, like, that's what keeps things fun, you know? Like, that's what keeps it exciting too.
Yeah.
Because
That's the game.
if I was living off what my parents told me and what they told me growing up, you know, there was always that, what if you were a millionaire? You know, like, oh, it'd be so cool to be a millionaire. Like, I would hear that as if that was like the place to get to. Well, dude, I'm there. I'm 34. Like, I got, you know, have a quarter, like 1/3 of my life is done, and why would I stop now? I would be so bored. I would be out of the game. There would be no interest.
Bro, I've been off for 6 months, and what have I been telling you? What am I most excited about, Dan?
Going back to work.
Going back to work.
Yeah.
Dude, I was on the beach today, and I'm like, man, like, I made phone calls for my girl.
Yeah.
To like sell her tickets because I'm like, I need
Good.
something to do.
Yeah.
Right? Because I know what it's. Dude, people think,
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
just lay on the beach, dude. Trust me, I lay on the beach, man. It gets so old.
Yeah, that takes 2 seconds. It is cool to go to the beach. Trust me. I mean, I live like one of the things that you guys are gonna miss because it's dark is that I live on the water in Miami. There's a private beach right out in front of here that's like man-made. It's badass, like super cool. I'd love to go down there, you know. And once I can afford to go down there, where it's like, dude, I had a good week, and it's like Saturday, like, dude, I will go down there. I'll hang out.
And it's that much more sweet.
Yeah, it is that.
Like, how about the end of the month? I love the
Yeah.
end of the month when you literally killed it.
Yeah.
And like I'll have a glass of beer, or you know, like a beer,
Yeah.
but it'll be generally it's alcohol free, like the good stuff from Germany,
Yeah.
or a glass of wine, or a steak, or I'll have a friggin' movie night with my girl and order some
Yeah.
Chinese food, and that is the best tasting Chinese food because I busted my ass and
Yeah.
we brought in numbers and we hit profit targets, and you know.
It tastes better, man. It tastes better. It feels better. Like, I have a better time when I'm having fun. But I'm also like, you know, people try to say this thing. This is where I think most of the planet today is confused because you hear this, what's the work-life balance? And that is something that people are not only saying, they're trying to achieve it. And it's because they're confused on what they should be doing here. Like, dude, take away these walls, take away the job, take away the 9 to 5, take away all that and just get back to, dude, what are we? Like, live your life. Why don't you turn your job into
A game.
the game?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay.
Why don't you stop, you know, oh man, I can't wait to get off work. Dude, if you were actually doing well, you wouldn't want to leave. You would be having fun. Like, I've never, you know, when
I look at it like this, so exactly what you're talking about. So imagine, you know, like you ever play video games as a kid?
Oh, of course.
Okay, so you had like first-person shooter.
Yeah.
First-person shooter, you got the gun, you're shooting, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then you have like third-person games where you're like above the battlefield and you're
Yeah.
controlling armies and you're like hitting targets.
Yeah.
So I look at it like this: when I go to work, I'm first-person shooter.
Yeah.
Okay. Or if I'm building a building, I'm the construction guy. I'm pouring the concrete. I'm digging the ditch. And then on my weekends and my free time, I step off the chessboard. I'm no longer the chess piece. I'm the guy moving the chess piece. So I look at Corrie as a character,
Yeah,
and I'm
I
like,
like that. Yeah.
this dude. All right, what are we doing? Okay, what did he produce this week? What did he produce this month? And then, but people don't do that with their weekends. They don't even do that with their vacations. Like, that's one thing I've been amazing at. I haven't really. I took a vacation recently with my girl to Naples, but I don't take vacations. When I take time off, I look at my life and I'm like, all right, what have we done? I take inventory.
Yeah.
What have we done? What have we achieved? And it's like, where are we going? And then like, all right, what chapter am I going into next? Oh, we gotta go into a rebuild chapter. Like right now, man, I gotta go into a rebuild chapter. Like I told him today, he's like, he made a compliment. Well, you said I had flow or something. I made some phone calls. He's like, dude, your flow's good.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, this ain't shit. Like I am gonna go back and I'm gonna be in pain because I've been off for 6 months. That
Yeah, you're just gonna be back in it.
I'm gonna have to like,
Non-existence?
I'm gonna have to get out of non-existence.
Yeah,
I
but
gotta
you know
reach-
how to work your way out of that. So
Yeah, but that's a chapter. I have to be willing to show up and suck and be rejected and be like, oh yeah, like today I got rejected. I was trying to sell a ticket, $35 ticket. I'm like pushing hard, selling these $35 tickets for my girl's event, and then this girl's like, yeah, we're gonna skip on it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
this other guy's like, I'm like, dude, I'm like, I put it down. I'm like, oh yeah, it wasn't even automatic anymore. I kind of was a little rusty. I'm like, make another call. Make another call. You know?
Dude, you gotta raise the price of it.
Yeah.
Just change it to $350.
Dude, I told Megan that.
Dude,
I'm like, these tickets are too cheap.
they're gonna skip it. Just be like, this is $350, man. Like, you know?
Yeah, dude, okay. See, and I'm gonna get schooled, and that's the other thing.
And then they're gonna be like, whoa, what are you guys doing there? You know? It's like, well, you gotta come to the event.
Okay, good. So here, I want to talk about this real quick before we wrapped up, because we're gonna do more of these. Especially if are you gonna be back and forth and all to LA?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, good. I mean, minus the socialism, it's a beautiful state.
Yeah, great state, but man,
Get rid of Gavin Newsom.
Man, they got some problems.
They definitely got some problems. They got some false data, right?
Yeah,
It's a false data about where money and success
All
comes
you,
from.
all you gotta do is clear that up, and honestly, you can soar.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do more, but let's just talk about this. I notice this is something that young people don't understand. is you have to go through chapters. So you went through a chapter of like build up from nothing, skill up, not get paid. Then you went through a period where you knew how to do it, but it was inconsistent.
Yeah.
So you go through these chapters. What chapter are you in right now? And then we're gonna after that, I want you to think about what advice you would have for somebody who has just come out of a chapter and they're like they're fried, they're burnt out, they failed, and they got to start all over. But what chapter are you in right now? So you've got flows coming in. You're in power.
Yeah.
We meet with people in power. You're in power. You've got this figured out. You have to show up every day and hustle.
Yeah.
But what chapter are you in? What are you working on right now?
I'm probably like in the later part of the book where it's like chapter 10, 11, 12, something there where it's like real late, but I've got a trilogy going on. So like I know that I'm coming to the end of this cycle where it's like I've hit the high numbers at my office a couple of times, you know, and like now we're looking for like ways to like level up, right? Like I've been investing a lot of the money in the real estate, and like I know that like that's going to turn over in a big way. I'm going to be leveled up, and so
because $1 million is just your deposit. That's
just
your deposit.
So that
we're not talking about that being the whole piece here.
Yeah. So in a couple of years, that'll be $3 million if I don't touch it.
Yeah.
So and I'll keep adding to it, right? So that'll change the game a little bit, right? Get a little bit more money, then I can start doing a little bit more things. My company maybe opens
cash flow.
I got more cash flow. My company opens me up. My fiance's got a business that's exploding.
Yeah, you
like,
guys are killing it.
Dude, she'll be.
By the way, you want to check out? It's at Lucia.
Yeah, at Lucia La Rosa, and check her out.
We'll post the links for both Steve and Lucia.
Yeah, so you know, like we're moving into. I'm probably finishing up on this book where like.
Which you're calling the entry. Right?
Yeah,
That's the first book.
Exactly, and I do feel like I'm going into a new early cycle again. Like, and I remember when I came down here, I was in a new early cycle where it's like, hey, non-existence. I don't know anybody. I don't know how to do what I'm doing, and that keeps it exciting too. Like that's where like
I like the beginnings. I love the beginnings.
I love the beginnings.
Dude, this is the beginning too, man. I made a rule that I wasn't gonna start a podcast, do a show. This is not going to be a typical podcast, but I wasn't going to do social media from a perspective of like TV shows and entertainment and YouTube and all this until I built something real. I wasn't about to go out there and advertise success in these things until I had actually done it in more than one occasion. So this is something new for me. Like I interviewed the CEO of BioAccelerator Stem Cell Clinic, number 2 clinic in the world, or number 1, and I choked up in the beginning. I was rusty. I'm like, because I don't do this. So I'm in that beginning of something as well. What's your advice for someone beginning a chapter? So you're about to begin something new, so what's your advice for yourself?
Dude, I mean, so for me, this is what I'm doing. I'm looking at, okay, well, who's been here before? Because, you know, on this planet, guess what? There's already been somebody probably where you're going, unless you're like an Elon Musk, you know what I'm saying? Like, so where I'm at, somebody's already been. I'm just going to look at like, hey, what worked for them? Like I don't care about what didn't work. I just care about, hey, what worked? What did they do? And then I'm going to try to get into that as quick as possible, you know. So like as I'm like leveling up, I'm trying. This is the same thing where like I invest in the real estate now. Like when I first started, you know, working with Grant, even when I started making money, like I still wasn't investing yet. I still had to like get going even and level up from that point, right? And then I started to watch. I knew that he had invested. He put all his money in.
He went broke all the time.
Yeah, and then it went right.
In a good way, broke, like all in.
Yeah, went broke with the money. Not he wasn't poor, he went broke. There's a difference, right? So I go broke every month where I have no money, but I also have more money than I need coming in, right? So I'm really just out there like, it's kind of a cool feeling where it's like, it gives you that hunger again. You're like, I need to produce. So, you know, I think that I'm trying to find out like, hey, what have other people done to like do what I want to, or like what's that next level? Like I'm still trying to figure it out. What did they do when they were starting? Exactly. What did they do when they started? Like
not like what they're doing right now, because that's another thing you and I have seen. Grant talks about it. Is like even this guy that was talking, like my buddy who quit, good guy, executive. Like I said, probably would have made $350 this year. You know, he's reading this book of this guy, and a lot of people give advice from where they're at, not thinking about what they did when they started. Because a lot of entrepreneurs worked for other people. You know, when they all the way up until they're 30 or 40 or 50, like, you know what I mean? Like I worked in corporate, you know, and all the way until I was 26 years old, and that's where I got my education. You know, so
dude, you gotta have people. Like you're not gonna do it by yourself. There's nobody that does it by themselves. You know what I mean? So this is where I'm trying to find out, hey, where am I going, right? That's why I told you guys earlier, write your goals down, like, and don't let off of them. Like, if it's even weird that you're like, even writing it down, where like you almost don't even want to show anybody, like, man, if I wrote this down, like, I don't, like, I want to be a billionaire, like, it's like an example. Or like, dude, I want to help 1 billion people, and you're like, oh, I can't do that. Don't back off on that. Look at what you want, and then find out, who did that? How did they do it? What did they do? How can I lay into that? What steps did they take? Who did they meet? Who were the people that they were talking to? What were the books that they were reading at that time? So this is where, like, dude, I had a lot of success coming out of the furniture store because I had a fire under my ass to like get out of there. Riding the bus every single day, hated it. Getting chewed out by, getting ignored by my boss, that was like, dude, that was embarrassing going home every day. Like, there was nobody seeing it. It was me. Like, I was embarrassed for myself. I'm like,
dude, I've been ignored by Grant. It's brutal.
Yeah, no, it's terrible.
It's brutal.
Yeah, but it was awesome, and I'm glad that he did that because he didn't show me any love at that time.
And so you get to where you earned the love.
Yeah, until I earned it. Which, dude, to be honest, I felt like that was more love than anything because I actually like leveled up hardcore.
I know there's so many like these fluffy self-help people that are like, love isn't earned, love's unconditional. It's like, right, that's your mother. We're talking about business.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about business. It is earned. And the same thing for me is I went to sit with Jared and talk with him. I'm like, man, like, what can we do about this and that? And he's like, produce first, then we'll talk.
Well, here's why though. We had the question earlier about, well, dude, when you get out of the environment, right? Dude, if you go back, like, you shouldn't let people into your environment that are like out ethics or like,
low
producers, So, dude, he rightfully shouldn't have been talking to me, dude. I was still partially out of ethics at that time. I was like coming out of, just because I moved down here doesn't mean like I wasn't still having bad habits of like being lazy, not working, like wanting to go to the beach, like, I was still drinking at that time, right? So like, dude, I still had, but I was doing it like on the weekends, right? That was where I would go justify and be like, well, I only do it on the weekends now. Dude, just like you said, I was still a piece of shit for like 2 or 3 days. And then I was coming in there not producing.
I don't think I said that word for word, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but you were like, hey, it still hurts for like 7 days, right? Where you're like,
you're slow, man. You're slow, dude. You have an off weekend. Even if you're not, here's another thing, we'll talk about this on the next show. I'm going to talk to you about your partner. I think what we'll do is we'll do like a couples show.
Yeah.
Megan and myself, and then the 4 of us can do something.
That'd be cool.
Okay. Even if you're out of ethics in your relationship, and I don't mean like cheating on her or anything like that, but I mean like if you didn't fulfill your end of the bargain, or you came home and you didn't do a reset at the door, and now you brought in all your emotional BS, you didn't drop the bag at the office, you bring that negativity in your relationship, and your relationship suffers, you're out of ethics in your relationships. When you come back to work on Monday, you spent your weekend in a negative energy, which was your relationship that you created. You come back, your production, I remember coming back and my relationship was in turmoil, and Monday, Tuesday I'm not producing because like I'm all emotionally fragile,
You just get your head like wrapped around like how to be successful in those areas, like just not spreading the more problems in the other areas of your life, dude, things can get so much better. So the relationship thing, you just like first you guys got to get on the same page, right?
Which is the goals. Exactly.
Exactly. Yes, we did this, like, and we had to do it several times. Like, it's wasn't something where you did like one time and we were like, oh, we're gonna live in a fairy tale. Like, we work on it every week. We still work on it. Like, we still butt heads where it's like,
you're both trying to create. I called him for relationship advice.
Yeah.
But when I was doing the retreat in March.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, you just gotta understand that she has her own viewpoint. And I'm like, it was the stupidest fucking reaction for me. I'm like, she's like, so she's not gonna see everything that you see, but she wants to create her own reality. And you want to create your own, and you guys got to figure out what you can create together. And I was like, yeah, I guess that's the most common sense shit ever, but it's not common at all. Like, I just assumed that like Megan knew exactly what I want to create. He's like, yeah, dude, like you have to communicate your reality. She doesn't know what you're thinking all the time.
Well, there's your world and how you view it. There's her world and how she views it, and then there's actually what's going on, and then you're putting all this together, and then you're like getting mad because you're like, why don't you see it? Like, you're not saying this, but you're like, why don't you see it the way that I see it? You know, and it's like, it's because they don't, because they're viewing things how they view things, right? And so if you can understand that, this is why I
that's sales too, right?
It's sales also. Like, when I call somebody and they're like, that doesn't work, dude, I don't like smash into them. I definitely understand. You probably tried a program that didn't work before, right? Yeah, we did. Okay, good. That would keep you from taking a look at what I had, would it? And just being able to like move through that and understand, dude, that's just how he sees it right now. My job is to get him on the same page as me. And for us to like...
And not make him wrong.
I don't need to make him wrong. And that's not how things come together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So same thing in a relationship. You guys got to get on the same page, understand there are different viewpoints, and there's different things that each of you want. So you kind of got to like work those things out a little bit.
So that achieving the goal gets what they want.
Yeah, because you can't just back off, you know, like there can't be one-sided, you know, like if I was like the strong male who was like dominant and like, hey, we do what I want, we go eat where I want to go eat.
Yeah, guilty of that.
Okay,
yeah. You know, not all the time. Like, I think I've gotten way better, but I've been there.
Yeah, but you know, still like we're not perfect, but it's like, you know, so those are some of the things where like I've noticed. I'm like, okay, cool, I can't do that always, right? So. You know, I've also, but
she also doesn't work for. She's not on your sales team, Steve.
I
had to be reminded of when not now, but
when
I said I'm guilty of that. When I was at Grant, when I was running Grant Cardone Canada, what Morgan is running now, I'm like so used to being like Andrew, like do this, like you know, Conrad, do that, Morgan, do this, and then I come home and then I'm like, baby, I'm like, do it this way, do it that way, and then I'm like.
She's like, what?
Dude, automaticity.
Yeah. You know? But on this other side of that too, like there's gotta be, like you guys gotta work together versus having like a dominance. That's where like me and Lucia are so good because like we've got our roles of like what we do and we know that, right? Like there's certain things that we do, we are like that. Like I am the law, right? But then there's other side of things where like she's the law. You know, and like, this is what she does, right? So, but we work together.
So you guys kind of assigned roles.
Yeah, we have.
And you kind of assigned like departments of who's doing, who's running,
and we could do a better job
in the company.
Yeah,
with the company of Steve and Lucia.
Exactly. Like you wouldn't have your accounts person trying to do a sales pitch, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could, but like you wouldn't switch them up, right? You would have people, you know, make the machine work, right? And that's really what we're building. Like we want to keep making this better, so we're always trying to figure out, dude, like what do we need to do to make this thing better, right? So you still gotta, you know, care for them. You still gotta like, you know, do the things where you're like, hey, you know, I caught myself not too long ago, like we haven't seen each other because we split. She lives in LA, I live in Miami. We made a decision to say, hey, dude, we're in.
When you told me that, I'm like,
well,
that's commitment. I knew it was for a game. I knew it was like for the game that you're playing.
Yeah, a lot of people freaked out. I had so many messages like, are you guys not together? Like we got engaged, and then like 3 weeks later, she lived in LA, and
that was that fast.
It was pretty quick, yeah. So what it ended up happening though is that her business is blown up and her team's in LA, and we have a goal, like we know where we're going. So like by the day, we know exactly what we're doing, you know. So a lot of people are like, well, don't you guys not see each other? Like, dude, I'm talking to her all day long, you know. Like we're making it work, and we don't. It's not a big deal because like
you know where you're going.
Because we keep talking about that thing where we're going. You know what I'm saying? Like if we're going to Disney World and we know that we're gonna see Mickey Mouse, and like I keep viewing that like, dude, I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna get a hug from him, and like he's gonna like give me a high five and it's gonna be badass. Dude, I don't keep talking about the slow drivers. We don't talk about
the wrong turns or the broken GPS on the way.
Yeah, you know, we didn't have to keep turning off. You know, dude, we just keep talking about, dude, hey,
Mickey Mouse. We're going to see Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse, yeah.
And Steve's gonna cop a field, just gonna grab him.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I'm gonna fist bump him, you know, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna hang out, and then we're gonna roll in, and I'm gonna like have a good, and it's gonna keep getting better from there, right? And that's pretty much the key to the whole thing.
Man.
And
that's awesome.
Yeah, and it just comes down to like, are you contributing to that? You know, because there was a time where, like, there has been times, like little periods or patches where like maybe the one wasn't contributing as much to.
Yeah. So how do you? So people listening, and this is gonna be for me too, because
Yeah.
that's flipped between Megan and I,
Mm-hmm.
where she'll be carrying the load and she's contributing way more than I am, and then she's way more patient with me.
Yeah.
When I'm not contributing, and that's probably why I get angry when I don't feel like she is. How we doing on time, Daniel? You good?
2 minutes.
Okay, well that's fine. We'll wrap this up.
Yeah.
And then if she's not contributing for like a fucking couple of weeks or something, then I'm like,
You're all up on it.
you know.
Well, it's like, what are they contributing? You know, because like energy, really. You know what I mean? Like let's say there's a breadwinner, like they're paying all the bills, right? Well, like what's the other one doing to like help out and like make their life easier?
Yeah, it's having that established. What you're contributing.
Yeah, and so like, you know, sometimes you gotta wake people up and be like, you know, hey, you know, like ask for it. Like, hey, remember when you were doing this for me? You know, oh yeah, I should say, oh hey, remember when you used to give me flowers all the time? Like, oh yeah, I'm sorry. You know, but then it reminds me, and I'm gonna get back into it.
We're gonna tie this into the next show. We're gonna do relationship pieces because I think it's important. We might do it digitally if you're cool with that.
Love it.
I'm gonna set up some equipment. Thanks for tuning in. School of 1%. You can obviously tell that Steve Spray knows what he's talking about. Massive achiever. Just like I said, invested $1 million, hit the $1 million mark for his investments of his own money, not the bank's money. Massively successful with his relationship, his income. You're looking at a guy who's earned $750,000 in a year by age 34. Thanks for having us here. I appreciate it. Someone who impacted my life. Follow him on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Follow Grant Cardone. These are the guys that I took my life from T-ball to minor leagues, trying to get into the major leagues.
Yeah, we're just keep going up.
You know, they pulled me out of the T-ball league, and I got into the place where I'm knocking at the door of greatness, and I'm hoping to get in soon. So appreciate you, man.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.